Doesn't take it
said, I'm
much.
not sure what I'm gonna do.
Doesn't take it much. Oh,
You can
speaking of
stand
which,
up and say something nice about us. You can stand up and say something nice about us. I used to be that way too. And then something happened. I don't know. I have to give people a brush.
Maybe 50 cents. She's a Jill. I hope she knows. Longer than you.
Yeah, that's true. You can kick it out of the way. Puppy dog eyes. You're welcome. I'm gonna tell you though, we have a very small pool to pull from and no one wants to drive it. No. The disappointing thing is
Paul, Paul. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That was a forwards. That was a forwards. That's one of the better games I've seen. And if you don't, I mean, we had a chance to win it, but actually before you get a point, I'm going to say level day on. So we beat Tottenham, we drew with Arsenal, and we just drew with Man City. So yeah. Our injuries has been ridiculous. So many bad games this year. Right.
Entertaining, right?
Snake
I know. Yeah. This came out this week.
Right, yeah, they're on the right direction. see you.
Morning, morning.
So much serious. Could I ask
Amen.
you to say what you
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's what I did.
were taking? We did. So I can take it.
I went back to using the book,
It makes sense.
and I love what you did.
Right, but no, you're good.
Because I used to do my own little tabs and I'd write them. I'm like, stick them on myself. This is perfect.
Carolyn. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Sure what I did.
Know most of it now.
I'm working on it. I'm a little bit.
Probably me. You probably had it. That's what I do this month.
Yeah.
I am a citizen. I have dual citizenship, so I've got both British and started off with a green card over here, and I did my test. And I actually went to Swan and I was on Good Morning America.
Yeah.
Because they was doing it at the LA Convention Center. This is the species of guys, girls,
No.
I was told, so I spoke out. Yeah, so they said, can we pick you up tomorrow? Come back home.
Because it has the Agenda, Pine Mountain Club Property Owners Association, Inc., Board of Directors, regular meeting, Saturday, November 18th, 2023, 10 a.m., Condor Room. Members in good standing are free to speak on a specific item on today's agenda when the chairman calls for discussion. If there is an item that is not on the agenda that an individual wishes to present, the appropriate time for the presentation is during the member forum. This meeting is being recorded to allow members in good standing who could not attend to view the meeting at a later date and to aid the recording secretary in preparing the minutes of the meeting. Members will observe rules of decorum. The speaker will address the chairman and speak only to the matter under consideration. Members will refrain from being argumentative and making derogatory and personal remarks or gestures. Members will turn off or silence all cell phones and communication devices while attending the meeting. Call to order. Cameron Acosta. Here. Richard Ballard.
Here.
Mark Bailey.
Here.
Jennifer Emmett. Here. Philip Gabriel.
Here.
Carolyn Gilbert present. Brad Hudson. Here. Bill Lewis too.
Here.
Ellen McCallan.
Here.
Adopt the agenda. Resolve that the agenda for the Board of Directors meeting of November 18th be adopted.
That's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ellen. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Consent agenda. Consent agenda opportunity for public comment. All items listed under 3 consent agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion if no member of the board wishes to comment or ask questions. If comment or discussion is desired by anyone in the audience, the item may be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member to address the board concerning the item action is taken. 1. Dispense with the reading of and approve the draft minutes of the Board of Directors regular board meeting October 21st, 2023.
I need to pull the minutes for a correction. Correct? Motion to amend.
Okay, is there a second? Go ahead and, we'd have to give the
Okay.
motion. What is the
A
motion?
motion to remove from the minutes from the consent agenda.
Okay. And there was a second? Did I hear a second? Okay,
You got that one, so I'm not marking it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And again, for those of you watching on YouTube, when votes are unanimous by the board, we'll just move on and I'll say it carries. If there's a split in the votes, I'll let you know how that goes. All right, so.
Mr. Lewis?
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to add to the minutes of the agenda regarding your resolution of 10.10.
Huh?
To the minutes?
Yes, to memorialize what happened last month. There was your agenda 10.10, there's something that was left out that I would like to put on record.
Okay. And again, do we need a second for that?
Do we need to do anything?
We'll come back to those individual, that yours and then yours. A motion to amend or readdress the minutes regarding 1010.
Correct.
Okay.
Although, do I need to mention what corrections we're making on the
We will-
current motion? Or?
Yeah, and I think this is just to amend the agenda in this regard, and then we will come back, I believe. Where's John? Is he here? And we'll come back and then address each one of these motions. Okay. All right, and was there a second to Mark's motion? Okay.
Jennifer?
And all approved? Approved the motion? Yes.
Aye.
And opposed? All right, carries. All right, so let's go back now to, I would leave, we're gonna still now approve the consent agenda.
With number one removed.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So, all in favor of the committee applications?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, let's go to the motion to amend here. Brad?
Sure. How should I present that?
Either the wording that
The
you have,
corrected
and then,
wording?
huh?
Or the corrected?
Yes.
Okay. So there was a correction to a confusing set of votes that we took. So the correct language that reflects what the board voted on would be motion, after discussion, a motion, this is on an EC committee project recommendations, was pulled from the agenda. Discussion regarding an EV screening project. After discussion, a motion was made to approve the EC recommendations. Directors Acosta, Gabriel, Gilbert, Hudson, Lewis II, McCullen opposed. Emmett, I'm sorry if I left that. It is in here. I'm sorry I left that out. Directors Bailey and Ballard approved, motion failed. Motion by Director Hudson, second by Director Gilbert to not accept the EC project recommendation. Directors Bailey, Ballard, Gabriel, Bailey, Ballard, Gabriel opposed. Directors Acosta, Emmett, Gilbert, Hudson, McCullen approved. Motion carried.
Where are you? Page 2, I believe. Wasn't that what you Okay.
Brad, you indicated that,
Oh, I see. Okay.
Motion by Director Hudson, second by Gilbert to not accept, is that your change?
That is correct.
Okay.
We rejected EC's
And
recommendation
so
to
what
approve
we're
it.
adding is the word not to that motion, is that correct?
Correct, from the bottom section.
Yes.
That middle motion
Yeah.
that was repeated, I struck that
Okay.
entirely.
All right.
Okay, any questions or discussion?
So you're saying to, under the.
That middle,
Above the members open forum, right, on page 2.7?
207, correct,
Okay,
on the minutes.
2.7. And it's the middle motion that you're taking out?
that, I struck that completely, and then I corrected the other,
The one above it?
the one above it, I just removed the second, the repeated director names, and then the bottom one, I added the word not to accept, which is what we did, which is what the vote was.
Okay, okay.
Okay, any other questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Something very important has been omitted, in my opinion, regarding Mr. Lewis's resolution 1010 that I believe must be reflected and memorialized in the minutes as is pertinent to his resolution.
Where is this?
What page is this?
Page, probably starting page 3, correct?
1.0.2.
There's 10
Page
at the
3 of
bottom
7?
the Page 1.0.2.
3 of 7.
Is that the motion at the bottom of the?
Resolution 06-10-21-2023.
Right, but when you're referring to changing the minutes, we're looking at page 3, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Are we good to go?
No?
Thank you. Director Ballard, who was acting as chairman, because it was Mr. Lewis's resolution, stated in verbatim during the board meeting on October the 21st, whether or not we vote on these two today does not stop the petition and the vote on December the 9th. It does not stop it at all. It has nothing to do with it. These votes can be done by the board. They will still be a vote by the members on December the 9th. And obviously that clearly didn't happen. And I also have that on a recording that I can play if you'd like.
So what is your recommendation for the minutes?
My recommendation for the minutes is exactly what Mr. Ballard said, that the petition would go ahead and the members would be able to vote on 1010.
It is my recollection that I did state that regarding 6.06. And as I remember, I believe I maybe had said that and was immediately chided by the chairman and stated that that was not the case.
That didn't happen. If you go to hour 2:40:41, or I can play it for you from my phone, that is completely incorrect.
Are you going back, but are you going back at another meeting?
No, October the 21st.
October 21st?
Yes, Mr. Ballard took over as chairman since it was Mr.
No.
Lewis's resolutions.
But I was the acting chair at the time.
And this was actually 1010, and there was nothing that was discussed after that. After that, Mr. Coulter came up and spoke. And like I say, you can, that's verbatim that I just copied it down.
The question is, and perhaps I said that, and if I did, then you can take me out and have the firing squad take me out in the morning and take me out.
I ordered it.
The issue is that we did pass it as verbatim as the petition wanted. So the voting on it, if I said that, and I will apologize for that. The voting on it would have simply have been to ratify it, and that was already set up to be ratified in June. So if I did say that, I misspoke, and I'll be out at the front 7 o'clock in the morning for the firing squad. You can take care of it.
So I guess the question we're looking at in the discussion section of this, the wording that you're requesting be put in there was the wording that you just mentioned?
Yes.
Okay.
But basically, to quote Mr. Ballard's actual verbatim wording to put in there, because I would like the record to reflect what actually happened and what was said,
Okay.
and then what didn't happen.
Okay, and so, and if I may ask, do you have this in writing, what he said before Grace to put in the minutes?
I do.
Okay, or an extra copy, or either one?
There's not, but I can get one at lunchtime or something.
Okay, we'll do that. Is that okay? Okay. So the request to,
I have a question.
go ahead.
Mike?
Since we usually, is it on?
Yeah.
Since we usually don't put in discussion in the minutes, just the results of the decisions we make, is it appropriate? And also, I was wondering, Mark, what is your goal or intention in doing this?
My intention is the resolution obviously changed many times, and there was a vote by the board due to some of the wording that Mr. Ballard used. And obviously we voted one way, and a complete opposite thing happened with 1010 being removed from the members' petition. So I think it's part of the resolution.
And the way we voted on this was, wasn't it the way it was worded in the petition?
It was.
That's
Yes.
what we voted
Yeah,
for.
we verified that with Mr. Coulter, who was here at the time, and he agreed that we had said the right thing.
I think when Mr. Coulter gets up to speak, you will see that both him and Randall Gates submitted the petitions, and neither one of them had any right to change the language whatsoever. It wasn't a negotiation whatsoever.
I thought the language wasn't changed. I thought it wasn't changed.
The language was changed.
Oh.
In fact, Mr. Lewis admitted it was changed. He said it means the same thing, but the language was changed. And if the petition went ahead, as the members had drawn it up on December the 9th, we would have been voting on 1010, as well as 6.06.
So, Mark, is it your wish that we re-vote on the 1010? And I understand, I know what part you're talking, but you're talking about the last line, about 2/3 of the members changing it. Using the exact language, is that your intent?
Well, I wish the exact language was used, but that was already changed, and that was beyond my control, because I'm one on a board of 9. But, so I don't know what the remedy is, except I would like it memorialized in the minutes that that's what we voted on from directions that came from you.
Okay.
And so, just, go ahead.
Are we referring to when we, during the meeting, when we added the language around 2/3 to make it match the petition?
No.
Because we originally had the 1010 without the 2/3, and we were gonna vote on that, and then you added the 2/3? Is that-
No, the 2/3 was
always
included
there.
on there.
That was always
Okay,
there.
I didn't,
Yeah, it was already in there, but we was told, and we all voted on the premises from Mr. Ballard's, which I mentioned his wording in verbatim. That's what we all voted on, and obviously that didn't happen, because when the petition came out, none of us in this room, apart from, I'm assuming, Mr. Lewis and maybe someone else, we never ever got to see the wording. So we was all kind of gobsmacked when we saw that.
are you referring to the resolution, the whereases part of it, not the actual language of what we passed, but like the whereases and the reasons for?
No.
Okay.
So,
Can I interject for a second, or you want?
I don't know about interject, but you may speak.
Okay, thank you. So I think, I think I'm following what Mark's trying to say, is that when we voted, we were under the assumption that it would be ratified during the December 9th. And so we were under that assumption when we voted yes, that they would still have the option to ratify both 6.06 and 1010. And so now that we don't have that, now they're gonna have to wait to ratify till June. So we're concerned that we didn't really understand how it was presented and how we voted.
But
So we
Thank-
may have voted different
Yeah.
had we known that they were not gonna be, those items, both items would not be on the ballot. If we only knew that the one was gonna be on, we may have voted differently, is his point. We may not have voted the way we did.
Thank you.
And
Oh, sorry.
is that correct?
No, that's okay.
Why,
I
I
think
guess
I'm
I
getting
don't
it.
understand why, though, why that would be different, because once the board approves it, it becomes a bylaw and is there until
It's a
the,
timing issue, because if they, now in December 9th, they're not gonna have the ability to ratify it December 9th. They're gonna have to wait to ratify. I know. I understand.
Yeah.
They still have to ratify no matter what, and now that his other concern was that the wording is different than what the petition said. Even though it was ever so slightly different, it was different. Now, had we put it in exactly the same, and that it would have been exactly worded the same, maybe it would have been all right. But I understand his concern and his desire to just document.
Eh,
That's all.
And again,
Yes,
for
sorry.
purposes of our discussion here, again, what the motion is to, again, and you'll provide the exact language to Grace that we'll put in here, that will be included in the discussion. And just to the point for you, Cam, we do include, there are discussion comments in the minutes, so it's nothing unusual. All right? So, all in favor of the motion to include this discussion?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Officers' reports. Chair report.
Okay, good morning. For the past month, we have experienced more than our fair share of relentless Facebook attacks and defamation upon our employees and the majority of the board. The defamation is having a negative impact on our employees and their work environment. And our employees are just trying to do their jobs. And they do a good job on behalf of the association and membership. The lies and the misinformation have now reached the point where we have directed legal counsel to assist us to seek legal action to curtail this misconduct by those who must believe they are untouchable and not being held accountable for their deceit. It's one thing to complain. It's another thing to insult, harass, and defame. We have people spreading information they claim to be the truth when in fact it is clearly not, and unfortunately, some of our members do not know the difference. We've been asked to refute all the false information, and we do our best for the most part, but it has become an overwhelming task, and quite frankly, we have been doing almost as much work defending the association instead of managing it. The financial reports are available for you to review on our website. The monthly financial reports are reviewed and explained every month in person by the Budget and Finance Committee and other members. The recent audit has been mailed to you, and past audits are also available on the website. The details for the yearly budget are also on the website. That includes comparisons with previous years. On a positive note, unless you're operating an illegal grow house, officers from the Department of Cannabis Control served search warrants on November 1st and on two separate properties here in PMC on Woodland Drive. They found 311 marijuana plants being grown at one location, along with 125 pounds of processed marijuana. At the other location, they found 200 plants being grown. As a result of this activity, citations were issued by the association to the property owners for violating Environmental Control Code Rule 21.30. If you suspect illegal marijuana cultivation may be occurring at a residence within your neighborhood, you can file a complaint directly with the Department of Cannabis Control, or you can report the activity to our patrol office and they will relay that information. Lastly, I want to give thanks to our members who volunteer to serve on our committees. We appreciate your contributions. I'm especially looking forward to the expanded roles being undertaken by our communications and emergency preparedness committees as they seek to improve our communications in response to anticipated emergencies. May your Thanksgiving be full of hope, peace, joy, and good health. Be safe, stay healthy, and please be positive.
General Manager's report.
Good morning, members. Today I would like to share some visible and behind-the-scenes improvements in progress here at PMC Operations. Although not as prominent as the pool problems we had, Ferns Lake also has had some problems over the summer, some water quality control problems. Typically higher temperatures result in the perfect environment for excessive algae growth. We experienced that this summer. Those who live near or visit the lake have noticed it. It was more difficult than should have been to manage this seasonal concern due to malfunctioning aeration equipment that helps keep the algae to a minimum. The aerators have been resolved, and we are expecting to see better water quality next summer. Another improvement that was made at the lake was the addition of 2 gazebos for picnickers. Due to parts delay, the roofing is still not complete, but is expected to be completed very soon. The POA is also participating in an effort to restock the lake for our members and guest fishermen. The nearby golf course has also achieved great improvements in quality of the greens and fairways this summer. Excuse me. Equipment improvements have been made that allowed these improvements, and more are coming that are expected to improve the course ranking in the future. Recently, we purchased some driving range equipment, including a ball picker, and that is one of those new improvements that we expect to be an advantage to the course and reduce our ball loss expense. The Pro Shop has now shifted its winter hours due to lower amenity participation during colder weather. Our attention is now shifting to some other amenities in need of repair and improvement, such as the clubhouse, tennis and pickleball courts, and the dog park. I'm working with maintenance staff to identify and prioritize needed repairs and improvements as budget allows. Those of you sitting toward the back of the room today may have trouble hearing due to some speaker issues right here in this room. I apologize for that. Although we've tried to solve the problem prior to today, we were unable to do so. Please know that we're still working on a solution for this and expect to have it resolved prior to the next meeting. Behind the scenes, staffing reorganization is happening that will allow operations to run more efficiently and effectively. I expect POA operational costs to decrease over time as these are implemented in the coming months. Our management software systems are also being analyzed and potentially replaced to improve the efficiency of staff functions. One of my first observations of PMC operations was our lack of good communications. The chairman just recently referenced that in his report. Along with the new management software and more organizational changes coming, expect to see more and better communications from the association going forward. Also looking to the future, we've been working on our snowstorm management this coming winter. A recent email and social media post shared just one of the things we're doing behind the scenes to make this safer for winter residents. We're also trying to learn from the past winter to identify ways we can do better this year. One thing that won't change, though, is that the POA is not responsible for clearing driveways unless you've been added to our berm removal list. If you're not already on that list, please check with the office to see if you do qualify for that. While there are some more improvements to be made, I want to reassure the membership that overall operations continue to run smoothly in spite of claims you may have seen on social media. To get to the most accurate information about operations, I encourage members to participate with the volunteer committees that help oversee the various functions that keep the association operating well. You can learn more about the committees from the association website. Happy holidays, everyone. Have a great day.
Treasurer's report.
Good morning, everyone. As of October 31st, 2023, the revenue for the association is better than budget, $40,203. The payroll expenses are better than budget, $74,262. The operating expenses are better than budget, $182,195. And the total change in the operating fund is $279,054. I will say Budget Finance is still looking for members. We just lost another member, so it's very short. So they need 3 more members. So if you have accounting experience, it's a great place to learn how your association works. Thank you. Oh yeah, I gotta do this. Motion.
Just real quick.
Yep.
So since we're better than budget at this point, by
Yes.
279,000, do we expect any of that to get recuperated?
I would expect we're early in the budget season, so it just started in July, so
Right.
that will go down.
Okay.
A lot of
Just
the
wanted confirmation.
expenses are budgeted, that they, by the end of the year, they'll be they'll be recognized.
Yeah, it's just obviously significant at this point.
Yep.
So I just want to make sure we get
All
caught
has
up.
to do with timing of when the invoices come in.
Yeah. Helping to make it clear to everyone in the room.
Yeah, thank you. Make a motion to ratify the review of the association's October 2023 financials in accordance with Civil Code 5500 and 5501.
Is there a second? Second by Jennifer. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Committee reports. Committee minutes. Committee minutes recorded. Communication, November 2023. Environmental control, November 2023. Governing documents, November 2023. Planning, October 2023. November 2023. approve Environmental Control Committee project recommendations 4, approve cottage industry
Hang on,
permits
hang
1.
on. We'll start with the EC recommendations 4. Is there a second? Second by Philip. Discussion?
That's for the top two three,
Yeah.
that's for the top thing, the committee.
Yes. No, we're at the EC committee recommendations.
I went too far. It's approve Environmental Control Committee project recommendations 4.
That's where we're at.
Okay.
All in favor?
Wait, isn't there discussion?
Well, I just said that.
Oh, I didn't hear you say that. I just wanted to say that, I'm gonna do this through the whole meeting. You'll have to tell me every time. Oh, you're gonna have to tell me every time to pick up the microphone. On the one for, the 11-foot RV gate, I would like to say I disagree with their approval on that. Not only is there gonna be an 11-foot gate, which is to their screen their RV, which will not screen their but they were asked to put another gate that's 11 feet high and install that there. It's not going to screen the. So, in my opinion, set a precedent that we, because I see the ECC's gate as not part of a fence. So you could put in a 5-foot fence and 11-foot gates, because we are setting a precedent. So my vote will be no, which I'm assume will not do anything.
They are going to be painting the gate/fence to match the house, so it will be all one.
Go ahead, Brad.
Our RV code, when it becomes effective, and the code that is in effect now, maybe not. Our RV code that goes into effect soon, it's posted for 30 days, requires that RVs stored on lots be covered by an approved EC cover. There's no provision for screening.
Does that mean?
So precedent setting, to address your concern that come December, it won't be allowed to happen anymore.
So will that be grandfathered in?
I anticipate so, yes.
Okay, so they can have their 11-foot gates, and as of this change in EC code, no one else can.
Correct.
Thank you.
Brad and then Philip.
Cam, I believe what is being approved, not grandfathered, but approved, is the fencing. Or gate. It's being approved as a gate, or whatever they're terming it. It is not being approved as an RV screen. In December, all RVs stored on residential lots need to be covered. There's no provision for screening them.
Correct.
That's what the code requires.
Okay, any other discussion?
Yeah, I don't remember when we approved an 11-foot gate. Which meeting, when did that happen?
We never did. We're doing it now.
This right now, based on the EC recommendation.
They approved 11-foot gate.
Yes.
And we only allow 5-foot fences, but
They have the approval to, I mean, you could have a 6-foot gate if they approve that and we approve that. So there are exceptions for variances.
11, so almost more than twice what we currently allow, we're gonna grant that.
Yes. And again, the EC committee spent a lot of time on this, their last meeting as well.
Even though this person sold their RV, knew the rules, bought a new RV, and then wants to get an exception, even though they knew they were violating the rules by getting the RV to begin with. And then we're gonna give them a hall pass.
Well,
For the
not a
gate.
hall pass, we are, either approving or disapproving. And again, after EC went out to the location again a few weeks ago, and had a discussion, and they believe this is in the best interest of the association, so that's what we have. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
3.
Okay, and who was that?
Philip
Philip, Cam,
and
and Jennifer, opposed. Okay. Cottage industry.
Approve cottage industry permits 1.
Is there a second? Yes, it did, with 3 people opposed. Was there a second for the cottage industry?
Oh, sure, yes.
Jennifer, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Members' open forum. This 25-minute open forum is for members to present their comments. Each member is allotted 5 minutes and will be timed. Members wishing to be recognized should step to the microphone, address the board chair, and state name, track, and lot number. The board extend the time limit for this forum to allow additional members to speak or grant additional time to a speaker when appropriate. Members may present questions to the board. If the question cannot be readily answered, it may be presented in writing or emailed to the recording secretary, and the question will be responded within 15 calendar days upon receipt. In addition to the question, the member's name, track, and lot number, and telephone and/or email contact information must be included. Members may not yield time to other speakers. For the consideration of other speakers, the 25-minute time limit, members are requested to speak to the board only during once, boy, I got that backwards, sorry about that. 25-minute and limit. Members are requested to speak to the board only once during members' open forum. Members will refrain from being argumentative and making derogatory or personal remarks or gestures.
Good job. Members?
I'll start it off. I have 4 questions. Good morning. My name is Paul Mobley. My lot number is 3402307. I do appreciate these forums to get some clarity for those people who do not attend committee meetings. I highly recommend it. You get some information that you don't get here. You can get a lot of questions answered. I've attended the Finance Committee, the EC Committee, the Emergency Preparedness Committee, and I find them very welcoming to my questions. And yet sometimes the questions that I have still don't get answered. So I will ask further questions. Number 1, how much did the temperature excursion cost us in terms of propane use when it wasn't shut down and the pool was going up to 90 degrees? We had to leave the cover off to let that heat evaporate into the night air. Number 2, pool attendant training. Could we get these pool attendants trained better to be more responsive to customers? I highly recommend taking some time to give the pool attendants some cross-training so that they can see how hard other people work in the community, in the post office, in other areas, behind the scenes, in the cafe, the lounge, whatever, before they get on the pool deck and sit around. Number 3, manager bonuses. What is the criteria? I have no problem giving a good manager bonuses if the community is satisfied with their work. I got bonuses when I worked in a private corporation when we exceeded our goals, but there were thresholds that you would have to meet, criteria that had to be met before a bonus was activated. What is the criteria for manager and staff bonuses? And number 4, I've asked this question several times. Fines have increased to our community. I understand the fines are generated with approval of the board. The board has approved a lot of fines associated with violations. EC in particular, when I ask, what is the trend? How is that affecting our community? The answer is not there. I would like to know why. Is it fire prevention, lighting, covers on RVs? What is the fine increase associated with? Thank you for your time.
I think some of them are gonna require a little bit of research on our part here, so, and I saw the general manager writing things down, I wrote them down too, so we will get back.
Hi, I'm Kathy Warren. My lot number is 35081010. I have a question for Todd. I didn't quite understand what you said about what would happen with Ferns Lake restocking. My concern is that Ferns Lake is an amenity. It's used by a lot of people here, especially the kids for fishing. And there's an individual in the community trying to raise funds to restock, which is fine, but I really feel that as an amenity, the board should pay for the restocking.
Yes, I did get an email about that. I'm not sure if it was you who sent it, but
No, I didn't
okay.
send
I did
anything.
get an email earlier this week about that and have not responded yet, but I intend to. First, I need to do some research. Being new here, I don't know what has been the historical scenario of how much or if the association participates in restocking at all. So I don't have a straight answer for you or others who may have that question at this point, but I will respond to that. I just got to figure out, I got to look at budget, I got to look at historical information, but I will definitely respond to that.
Okay, I would appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
The individual is requiring $3,000.
Understood.
Seems like a small amount considering what we put into some of the other amenities.
Absolutely.
And I think the board should cover that cost rather than having a GoFundMe.
Okay, thank you.
Morning. Randall, excuse me, Randall Gates, 3508-522. A lot of activity. Can you hear me all right? Better?
Yeah, you gotta be speakers.
I'm confused and concerned. The board is here managing the affairs of the community, and yet I'm aware the board is not always managing its own affairs very well. And that's what I want to point out very quickly here. First one, Attorney General complaint. I believe there's a standing Robert's Rules of Order on recusal when there's a conflict of interest. A director is not supposed to be involved in resolving anything. They are a party in interest. I'm very familiar with the Attorney General complaint. However, the chairman, who is named in 4 of the 5 complaints, responded for the association without recusing himself, as he should. And it seems the rest of the directors allowed that to happen, which is also inappropriate. So I'm going to put that out there. This has been in writing to the board, but I don't get answers. Similar item, September 11th, email blast on the petition that Sean Coulter and I were gathering signatures. A very uncomplimentary email blast coming from the chairman from his office using POA resources. Members are intentionally being misled. Spending money keeps coming up, but that's not a very credible argument. If you are signed and believe you have been deceived, you can ask your name to be removed. There's a lot of things like that in there. That is a violation of Civil Code 5135. It needs to be remedied. I brought this to the attention of the board in writing, and it allows to occur, similar to the Attorney General response, without consequence. And yet, you expect the members to be held responsible and accountable to the board and to the governing documents, and yet I don't see it happening at the board level. And very quickly, the ballot. As was mentioned, there was a meeting between Sean Coulter, the chairman, and the general manager and I. We made it extremely clear, verbally and later in writing, that once a petition is submitted and validated, no one has the authority to negotiate, period. Yet, when you look at 1010, and there is a reason to have 1010 in the member petition, if the members voted, it is law that right then and there, not having to wait till June to have it be ratified. There's a big difference between having something included in the member petition ballot and waiting till June. It should have been in there. For some reason, it's acknowledged here on item 2, proposal to amend 1010, that it's been removed because it's already been approved by the board of directors, but that's not a final official approval that you would have if a member petition voted on that on December 9th. They're different. And also, there's the odd inclusion that it's somehow justified with the concurrence of the petition submitter. Number one, there were 2 submitters, not 1. We both, I know Sean Coulter did not concur to have this taken off the ballot. Sounds like there was some confusion to that, even amongst the board themselves. And even if he had concurred, he did not have the authority to do so. So I strongly object to how the member petition, 2/3 of the items have been removed from the ballot. The third item, proposed rule, as was stated in Attorney General Complaint 4, as Catherine King informed the board on September 28th. The interpretation of 4147 is incorrect. What we had was restrictions placed into association rules where regulations belong. And by putting restrictions on STRs in the association rules, you bypassed a member vote. That would have been required had it been done through a bylaw or a CC&R. And so now my understanding is there's going to be another rule change. Well, read Davis Sterling. Restrictions belong in the CC&Rs. I'm not even sure it'd be appropriate to put it in the bylaws. But to bypass member votes again, this should have been, as I informed the board in writing, this should have been left on the ballot. If you had an issue with it, bring it up after the vote, but let the members vote. Not unilaterally take it out because, as I've already brought up, no one had the authority to change what was already in a member petition that had been validated. It is a document of and by itself. Other than that, I'm fine. Thank you.
Maybe just let me take just a few seconds here to address some of the things before you step up there, Sean, please. First of all, you keep referring to this complaint that you filed with the Attorney General as the Attorney General complaint. It is not the Attorney General complaint. It's a complaint filed by you. Next, recusing myself to, no, hang on. No, you're done.
I don't think so.
Well, you.
This is a rebuttal, I believe I have.
No, we don't have rebuttals in members' open forum here, so let me just,
So
let
you
me
get the
finish,
last
please.
word, sir.
No, we don't have that either, last word. Let me finish what I was trying to say, please.
Okay.
As far as recusing, actually, what I would do here is defending the association, even though I was named in it. And this response also went through legal counsel. It was also presented to the board in an executive session, and there was no complaints or mention that I should recuse myself. Probably what better person to rebut the information you provided than coming from somebody who was knowledgeable about what was going on. So the recusal, not effective. Regarding Civil Code 5135 that you allege was violated as well, it has nothing to do with that petition process and the use of association funds in campaigns, as is the title of that Civil Code. The effective date of 10/10, the one benefit of it occurring is that it occurred right away, and at that exact meeting where it happened, you saw reallocation of funds that had been originally earmarked for the reserve fund were allocated to other sources. And so, yeah, you are correct in the fact that members will still ratify or have the ability to ratify it, but it's ineffective, as of last month. So that doesn't really address it. Lastly, your interpretation of the STR restrictions is exactly that. It's your interpretation. And legal counsel has given their opinion, and it conflicts with your interpretation. And so that's where we're at.
Sean Coulter, 350-8420. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I feel that some of the board members are no longer working for the betterment of the whole community. In the last meeting, 2 hours, 40 minutes in, Acting Chairman Ballard stated no matter what, the members will be able to vote on the petition on December 9th, even if the board approves resolution today. Mr. Lewis, you've removed the members' right to vote on said petition in its complete form, and in fact, the only resolution on that ballot is to ratify 6.06. Ratify 6.06. Even I was confused with the wording. Are we voting on the board's resolution that passed or the petition? If you're ratifying one, why didn't you allow us to ratify the 1010? You've sent members letters with wrong information in regards to the time of the ballot count without correcting it in the same manner. You have used the position, your position, to access PMC POA-owned private email lists to make statements that a reasonable person would consider defamatory. You have double booked important board business with major community events, leaving out the members that not only work the events, but the families that go. Director Acosta came up to me in the last meeting saying that the STR bylaw would be introduced in this month's meeting as part of the petition, as you all know. In closing, I officially am asking you to step down as chairman, and if you don't, I will expect the board to do their fiduciary duty and make a motion to vote you off as chair effective immediately.
Are you done?
Waiting for you to answer, sir.
Well, let me just say this. I really don't know what gives you the right to make such a demand. And next.
Really?
Yeah, really.
I'm a homeowner.
Okay.
That's what gives me the right. I'm a homeowner.
Okay, well, let me just say this.
23 years.
Let me just say this, that I have been contacted by people who have demanded I stay. And so I reject your demand.
Fine. Board, it's up to you. Is anybody going to make the motion?
You're out of order right now, sir. Have a seat.
Hi, good morning. My name is Lori Harmon, track number 3507, lot 118. On November 10th, Ross Canton sent out an email blast to over 3,000 community members titled PMC Truth. In that email, Mr. Canton provided false and misleading information regarding the Equestrian Center pasture project. As the Equestrian Center manager, I agree with Mr. Canton. Our community members do need to know the truth. Ross wrote that over $177,000 was spent on bulldozing and grading the Equestrian Center. This is false information. The pasture project was initially approved for $177,000, but after reducing the size of the pastures and changing the fencing materials, as suggested by Chairman Bill Lewis, the contract proposal was reduced to $128,000. This included not just grading, as Ross stated, but the removal and disposal of 7,000 feet of dilapidated fencing, gates, posts, and concrete footings. The contractor removed large boulders that were in danger of careening down the hillside, crashing through the fencing and onto the streets of Aleutian down below. They also improved the existing terracing, installed jute matting for erosion control, and a drainage system diverting runoff into Ferns Lake. The contractor installed 1,700 feet of fencing 215 support posts with concrete footings, 4 gates, and reinstalled 9 horse shelters. The narrow frontage road was widened to allow for PMC maintenance equipment to safely access the hillside pastures for yearly maintenance, which was neglected in the past because the road was so narrow that we couldn't get the grader out there. Ross further stated in his email blast that the grading of this project is under investigation by Kern County Code Compliance and will need to be completely redone at the expense of the members. This is also false information. The pasture project falls under Kern County Grading Exemption Code 172840B, which reads, any grading under 2,000 cubic yards does not require a permit. Coldwater Construction moved less than 50 cubic yards, and that was to reshape the already existing terracing on the hillside. No soil was added, and no soil was removed from the job site. Ross's wife, Marielle Canton, posted on social media that no other bids were submitted for this project. This is another falsehood. The project was bid on by 5 contractors: Centaur Fence, San Joaquin Fence, High Country Engineering, Unparalleled Customs, and Coldwater Construction. Marielle posted on social media that High Country Engineering was paid $177,000 and was awarded the contract because the owner of the company is married to a PMC employee. She ended her post with, "Let's stop the corruption." This again is false information, unfortunately being shared with members as facts. The contractor for the pasture project was Coldwater Construction, not High Country Engineering as Mariella posted. Jeff Points, the owner of Coldwater Construction, has no relations to any PMC employees or any directors. I was recently sent a screenshot of another social media post by Marielle Canton that reads, members are paying Lori Harmon $100,000 a year to manage the equestrian center. Marielle, you're not even close, but if you find it in your heart and pocketbook to give me such a substantial raise, I'll graciously accept. You know, the truth never comes from these cyber shenanigans. And if it's truth you're seeking, go to the source and hear it straight from the horse's mouth.
Lot number 3507-130, regarding the Equestrian Center. In February, the board voted the bid of $177,000, and it's in the minutes, it's in all the redacted agenda, and they voted that bid. Now, I understand, as Randa mentioned, the process is all corrupted in terms of Bill Lewis signing contracts in executive meeting or even before executive meeting, like RCS contract and a Stowell contract that is not even in the minutes. That's a falsification of the minutes. It's not even there. And there are many other contracts that are being signed. I found out through the posting that High Country Engineer never got the bid. I didn't find out from the minutes because that vote looked like they were accepting High Country Engineer bidding. No other minutes reflect that the other company got the bidding. No minutes. And I'm assuming that the pool contract, Stowell Construction, happened the same way. It was $500,000 selling to the members, and then all of a sudden became a $1.2 million. I found the Stowell Construction contract after I got the actual documents from the association. So this is so corrupt that there is no other way other than remove them all for misappropriation of funds, for fiscal irresponsibility, for falsification of documents, for shady accounting. That is a shame. And all your clean accounting doesn't show at all.
Hi. Hi. My name is Elisa Christensen. My track number is 3508467. I'm curious as to how many members of this association have heard of the illusory truth effect. The illusory truth effect describes how, when we hear the same false information repeated again and again, we often come to believe it is true. In fact, studies have shown that people can believe in a statement after only hearing it repeated 3 times, even if they realize the statement is at odds with logic or reason. I've been witnessing this phenomenon take place on this mountain. So I just wanted to remind everyone to step back, take a breath, and ask questions instead of making assumptions. Have conversations instead of making accusations. I see a minority group of members spreading false narratives and growing more mendacious by the week. This abhorrent and ill-considered prattle is creeping us toward the nadir of our existence as a community. It is important to note that just because someone is the loudest, it doesn't make what they are saying truthful or correct. Please, members, ask questions. Have respectful, real conversations with your neighbors. Do your own research. Realize that people with agendas are the very best at spinning narratives. Opinions do not become facts just because they are shouted from the rooftops. Thank you.
Hello, Ross Canton. Lori just referred to me in a number of instances about my misinformation. The lot number is 3507. I'm sorry, 3507 -130. Okay. Related to Lori's argument that there were a lot of lies, I guess you would put it, is the way she put it. All the information that I get, I vet as best I can with the documents that I can get. It's hard to get documents, Todd. It's hard for us to get documents from you. This is an issue related to your legal counsel that will be addressed through your legal counsel, because members should be able to get the documents that we need to understand a lot of issues. The other thing is, there is a lot of non-transparency going on with the actions of this board and has been going on, and that's where a lot of the misconceptions and misunderstandings occur. So I would ask the board to be more transparent if they can be. That's probably an ongoing complaint or ongoing disagreement. The other thing I would say, Cam, complaints. The members don't necessarily complain. They disagree. You don't understand the difference. we may not agree with all the board's actions, and we have a right as members to disagree. And the numbers are outrageous. $15,000 for a solar camera at Tyrol. Some people are going, wow, why spend $15,000? That's a disagreement with the philosophy of the board, okay? That's not a complaint. That's just, hey, we think it's too much money. Just like spending $15,000 for lawn chairs seems like a lot of money to a lot of people. Just like giving bonuses, retirement bonuses for somebody who was a general manager for 6 years or something seems outrageous. So it's not always complaints. It's simply disagreements with the philosophy of the board. I have a disagreement with Richard's philosophy about the loan because, you know, I read, Richard, I believe, and I hope I'm not misquoting you here, but that that our homes would not be used as collateral.
That's correct.
Okay, so I went and I said, okay, I don't know what kind of a loan this is, but this is what I got from, Civil Code 5735. The lender would have the first right of their monthly loan payments before turning over the remaining balances to the HOA. Okay, I understand it's related to the assessments and not your title to your home. But ultimately, in the CC&Rs, it comes back to if the association defaults, you in effect have defaulted as well as a homeowner. We're all in this together. I mean, I don't know what you guys consider collateral. It has to come back to us somehow. No, okay, so you're saying that the bank is gonna give a $5 million or $10 million
Judge,
loan?
Ross.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Keep it up here, thanks.
Well, then don't comment from the peanut gallery.
I know. Ignore them.
Okay. My understanding is that a $5 or $10 million loan uses our assessments as collateral. And if we fail to make a payment, or if, let's say there's something, a major disaster that happens, and 30% of the houses are damaged, that we can forfeit our homes because of this loan and the bank calling it in. In a sense, my understanding is that the bank takes over and they administer the loan. I mean, I don't know any other loan that you guys are talking about talking to a bank. They're going to ask for some hard collateral. So, anyway, last thing is defamation. Yes, I got that letter too. I'm sorry if I defamed anybody. I rarely post, and what I do present often is op-eds, opinions, based on the facts as I know it. Okay? I may be wrong on some of those things, but that's not defamation. And members have a right to disagree. Also complain, Cam, but we also have, we can also disagree with your philosophy. The philosophy of spend, spend, spend is a bit much when people are suffering or people are having a hard time just paying their assessments. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Excuse me just for a minute,
Yeah,
Teresa.
no
One of the things too, when we talk about spend, and I mentioned this in my report earlier, you should go in on the website and look at the budget details. And in that budget, you'll see comparisons for the past few years. You'll see where money has been cut and where expenses have increased. You'll also track the revenue over the years, not just from last year, but years past. So it's very, again, I mean, you're probably not interested in looking at it, but when you hear that all we do is spend, you can go and look at the history of how these budgets are developed. There's a budget presentation that's online as well that shows you where things were cut and where things were increased. And it's helpful. And it will actually show you, again, I just looked at it last night. It'll show you where the increases this year came from, allocate it down to each one of the items, including insurance and other payroll, other things on there. And it breaks it down by the increased amounts. So I really encourage you, to look at that. I will say this, just in quick response to what Ross said, complaints versus disagreements. That's a pretty good analogy. But again, when you post facts as you believe them to be, doesn't excuse them or make them facts. And so I really would caution people who are just making an assessment on the knowledge they have to be careful what you put, whether you believe it or not. And again, as we just saw here a little bit earlier, there was the truth. And so please be aware of that as you go through there. Teresa.
Well, that was the first thing I was going to say, but you just said that. Okay, 3402519, Teresa Mamana. Thank you all for being on the board, because I know it's a thankless job, and you do your best. And yeah, you're right, people are not always going to agree. But I have a problem, and this needs to be addressed, and it's probably been addressed before, and I don't say it as eloquently as Elisa, but here's the thing. Anybody who has a platform on social media, Facebook, what have you, and sits behind on that keyboard at 3 in the morning in your underwear, you are bullying people when you are purposely speaking toxicity. All you're doing, and anybody here that has another platform who might not be here, okay? Here's the thing. You are an angry person. You are not a happy person, because happy, nice people don't do that. They might disagree, but they don't sit there and go blah, blah. I mean, poor Todd, for God's sakes. There was like a lynching mob after this guy before he ever even got here. They didn't even give him a chance. And it doesn't have to be about politics or religion or anything else. We can all come on core values. We all came here to escape the crap in the cities, didn't we? We all came here, all right? So why are we not focusing on how great that is? An angry heart gets behind those keyboards, and they just sit there and they this. And they're always, and here's another thing, it's always a narcissist, because you know what? Let's take a little lesson on narcissism. Narcissists can never, ever take responsibility for anything for themselves. They blame everybody. Everything is everybody else's fault. You're the bad guy. You're the bad guy. Okay? They also create themselves to be either victim or hero. And they create chaos. There's something that they talk about in the circus. You know how we say stirring the pot? Oh, that person's just stirring the pot. They like to create all this chaos. It's called a heat merchant. We don't want to look like a circus. Okay? It's really unfortunate, and it's vile. And I don't know how anybody can think that getting on Facebook and those things, when you have people that look into this community and they go, oh my God, I'd love to live there, and they get on Facebook and they get a little taste of that toxicity that's out there, that hatred, it's disgusting, it's vile. And guess what? Either they either go away from it, or if they already are in here and they see that, they go, you know what, screw this, I'm out of here. No one expects Bill Lewis to be perfect, or anybody else on this board. For God's sake, who is freaking perfect in this town? Nobody. We're all fallible, but we try very, very hard, right? It's very passionate. I really feel this. I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. It's disgusting. It's vile. And anybody who puts that down on paper, don't take the bait. That petition, whatever that petition is, of course I didn't sign, whatever that is, to remove the people that people have already put in or whatever else, they're probably, well, I know they are. They're operating on misinformation. Okay, if Ross didn't know that the things went through, if Ross didn't know that, no, because it's about that. You're right. He shouldn't have posted that or sent that to 3,000 of us, because there's people that don't know. Anyway, that's pretty much what I have to say, except one last thing about the Equestrian Center. I want everyone to know that everybody is always about adopt a cat from a shelter, adopt a dog from a shelter. God forbid you go to even a reputable breeder you look down upon. Oh, you should have rescued. Well, guess what? About 90% of those horses up there are rescues. My horse has cancer, a blown out knee from a racetrack. He's 15. I don't know how many years he has left. I rescued another 4-year-old that they were going to put down because he couldn't walk very well. Well, guess what? He's doing great. He has worked with kids with autism. He's worked with PTSD soldiers. Through Hillary Harmon, because she is an equine therapist. And you know what? Maybe not everybody here can have a horse. Maybe not everybody wants one. That's another thing. You start tearing around our amenities. What do you have here? You don't like it? Yeah, leave. I'm sorry. You knew when you walked in here that you had these amenities. Okay? So people need to know, we've got horses that have been so abused up there. Let me tell you something. It's a lot less expensive to adopt a dog and a cat. It costs a hell of a lot more to adopt a horse who has behavioral issues, metabolic issues. One was beaten blind in one eye. Beaten blind, a 2-year-old little horse beaten blind. But that horse is up there, thriving, because we all care. And the people that do come up, the people that we've invited everybody to come up, people don't. They walk by, they go by the transfer station. Oh, yeah, there's 6 horses. What's all the fuss? No, you guys. When Lori entered, there was 9. We have over 30 horses and a waiting list. And when people come up, the enjoyment that they've got, just seeing them and petting them and being around them, we do our open house and our Halloween barn bash, we try to do the parades. It's a lot of freaking work and it's a lot of freaking money. And we do pay our share. I don't know if people know that, but we do. Anyways, I thank you. Have a great day. Happy Thanksgiving.
I cannot follow that up. Ronan Murphy, 340-21-96000. I just want to follow up on some.
Hello.
Thanks for the advice on audio engineering. But I just wanted to follow up on some things that have been said by you over there and the folks back here. But for the first 6 years here, I've been one of the very in the trenches, checking out the minutia of the POA. Much to many people's displeasure, but I've been that guy where I was really in, following the budgets, attending meetings where I could, seeing the arguments and understanding. It's always been pretty easy for me to get onto Facebook and see things people post and be able to say, oh, actually that doesn't align with what I read or the meeting that I was at or, the committee meeting I was at. So that's something I've always been able to do, again, much to some people's displeasure. The last year's been a little crazy. I had a little thing with a tree happen. And my home and my business, there's some family stuff on the East Coast. It's been a chaotic year where I have not been in the trenches. I have not been, reviewing budgets to the level I would. There's meetings I completely miss virtually or online. So I haven't been able to be that person, for better for worse. And what that's done is given me more honest perspective of what the rank and file members are going through in terms of trying to assess the information that's presented to them. So it doesn't need to be repeated that we are in a situation where there is a lot of statements being made on social media, emails, etc., that seem concerning, validly so. When you look at things that arrive in an email from a member group or you see things on social media, those statements are things that very validly would make people concerned. Me now acting more like a rank and file member this year going, that looks bad, and I don't have I was at that meeting and I went to that budget meeting and I went to planning, so I understand it. So I'm in that perspective where you go, wow, that sounds really bad. That kind of sucks. And I'm not going in deeper. So what I'm asking for, and I know you talked about doing it, but I think the POA being able to present responses and rebuttal in manageable components, being able to say, hey, this is the statement that you may have gotten in an email. This is the information from the POA. You don't even have to say any people are lying or being bad people, saying this statement was made, maybe it's a budget issue on something like the Equestrian Center. Here is the actual budget of how that broke down. And being able to present that through the PMC POA page or emails, however you do it, because we know it's unrealistic to get involved in the back and forth on Facebook. That would be counterproductive. But being able to say, this statement was made, here's the information, or here is the YouTube link. Look at 23 minutes and 17 seconds to see where this was discussed. Because the situation right now, and again, we don't even need to get into whether I think statements are true or false, but there's extreme contentious and dangerous to the community discussions going on. And if the POA stays silent and sits on their hands, I fear that it will have a detrimental negative impact. So I'm asking the board, the chairman, and the general manager to please prioritize finding a way to distribute your perspective on these issues so that members can easily, members who have kids to raise and businesses to run and all those kind of things, have an easy way to look at different sets of information and draw their own conclusions. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Elizabeth Gilbert, and my lot is 3508530. I don't know why I'm emotional about this room. I want to say that I appreciate the civility of everybody today. We had a lot less catcalling from the audience, and I appreciate that. I want to speak, and I may be late on this, to the one-term limit proposed in the vote. I've served on a number of nonprofit boards, and I can tell you that 3 years is a little bit too little time for a board member to actually make a difference in our board. The first year, you're kind of learning the job. The second 2 years, you form an opinion, and then you're off the board. And that just doesn't make sense to me. And I'm a little disappointed to the board that they proposed. I don't know that you proposed this, but somebody did, and you put it on the ballot. I would have much preferred something a little more rational, like 2-term limit. So I want to encourage all board members to vote against a 1-term limit and to ask the board to come back with a more reasonable recommendation. Secondly, I don't know how the Cantons got my email address, and I'm a little disappointed in that crowd. I don't want people sending me stuff like that, honest to God. So however they got my email address, I want it removed. The idea of recalling our board on the thinnest evidence sends a message to anyone in the future who wants to serve on the board that we are able to revoke our board on the thinnest of evidence of a small group of people who have an opinion. That you are out of it. All the time and risk and hassle you people put in. The fact that you've already had to have a background check for fraud. You know, that we voted for you and we expect you to make decisions. It's the right of a small group to call for a recall, but it's the responsibility of the greater board membership to support the people we voted for. Additionally, why would anybody want to vote off an experienced board and replace them with an inexperienced board? Doesn't that sound idiotic? Further, why is it only one board member gets left on there? I'm really curious about that. Doesn't that really seem odd? A board member has so far accomplished nothing that I can tell, whose entire voice is a Facebook celebrity. And I don't read Facebook. I don't care to read that stuff. Why would I want a person to run my board who's arrived there at the results of a recall? I do not support any kind of a recall. I do hope all of you, like me, expect the volunteer board to operate within the confines of the law and to keep our budget in mind and keep our costs down. Thank you.
Hey, Bill, can I have a quick response to that, since that was obviously directed at me? It'll take all of 10 seconds, just like you responded to someone who was criticizing you.
The chairperson can.
All right, 10 seconds.
Okay, I have never, ever voted for a recall or called for a recall.
Okay, that's Carolyn.
Sorry.
That's okay. All right, any other members?
Old business, none. New business.
I, Director Ballard, move the adoption of the following resolution. Whereas the purpose of the revision to Association Rule 16.05, swimming pool, is to update by removing the liability release form, which is no longer in use, And whereas the statement, quote, persons enter the pool at their own risk is already stated in Association Rule 16.07. Resolved that the PMC POA Board of Directors approve resolution 0111182023 as submitted. 1605. The pool may only be used according to posted schedules. The deleted part I'm about to read to you now. Persons enter the pool at their own risk after signing a liability release form, which is available at the reception desk in the lobby during normal business hours or from a reception pool attendant, end quote. The pool may be closed in unsafe weather conditions or for sanitary reasons. Submitted by Director Ballard.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jennifer. Discussion? Question?
So we're not using the waiver form for the pool, so that also, so it also includes everything like yoga classes. We're not using it there either. It, because it's in the 16.07, okay.
Yes.
Just wanna make sure.
And again, just because one of the concerns you might have regarding liability waivers was getting an opinion from our legal counsel, and we did, and they're actually the ones who pretty much said that the waivers aren't necessary as long as it's posted.
So 16.07 refers to amenities period, not just the pool?
Correct.
No, it's the pool, but in the general rules, it mentions that all persons use the amenity, or any of the association property at their own risk.
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion? Members? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
I, Director McClellan, move the adoption of the following resolution. Resolution 02-11-18-2023, mailbox solar surveillance camera. Whereas installing a mailbox camera is a simple, effective, and practical way to discourage criminals from targeting a mailbox, and whereas the Tyrol mailboxes have been broken into numerous times, and resolved that the PMC POA Board of Directors approve Resolution 02-11-18-2023 mailbox solar surveillance camera project not to exceed $15,245 for mailbox solar surveillance camera not to exceed $25 per month for internet, $250 a month, sorry, for internet service connection from the operating fund, submitted by Ellen McClellan.
Is there a second? Second by Brad. Discussion.
Todd, did you research other areas like Starlink and those sorts of things to see how they would provide?
I have, and the big challenge with Starlink is basically the distance or latency of going up to a satellite with the signal and back down, whereas if you're going on a straight wireless shot to microwave line of sight or something to that effect, you're going to get much better quality. There would be dropouts and that sort of thing technically by going with the Starlink scenario. That's the main reason not to do a Starlink.
Cam and then Philip.
Is there,
Speaking to the mic.
is there anything in place structurally that would prevent all those cameras from easily just being broken? I mean, if somebody's going to break a mailbox, aren't they going to break the camera?
It is certainly possible. The intent is to mount the cameras on the structure, the overhead structure. And I actually have personal experience. It wasn't me who did it, but I've seen cameras get damaged. As many of you know, I worked in a very difficult area prior to coming here, and we had cameras damaged multiple times. So it is possible, but you do what you can to prevent it. And in some cases, another camera can catch the person damaging another camera. So I've had experience with that too. So it's not foolproof, but there's things you can put in place to minimize that possibility.
Okay, my other question is, why $15,000? I mean, I have a couple of Ring cameras, and they're, very.
Yes, of
Chief.
course. These
Thank
are,
you.
these are high-end HD TV quality cameras that will get good solid signal. We've also got low light out there, which is is a potential reduction of quality. And so it's a combination of the cameras themselves and the link to get them over here to patrol, to be able to monitor them. Some have suggested we just store the video data on the camera itself, which is technically certainly possible. The challenge with that is it's not live monitoring. We're just, potentially we could get video footage as evidence for a criminal case of theft or break-in, but that's after the fact. So the idea of having live monitoring gives us better capability to get law enforcement involved as quickly as possible in the case of some sort of break-in.
Okay, thanks.
Philip and then Brad.
I think there's boxes out there that are almost foolproof in terms of damaging cameras. They're expensive, but and I know the LAPD uses boxes on telephone poles that are really hard to break, so maybe looking at something like that. And has there been any pushback from people who are maybe afraid of their privacy being violated by being on camera every time they go get their mail, or is it pretty much consensus that people want the cameras?
So what was your question, Philip? I'm not. The concern was privacy.
Yeah, people who maybe get mail every day, do they want to be on a camera every single time they get their mail?
We've got cameras all over property. We can,
the post office.
At the post office, you're on camera when you go to the post office as well. So this is not all that different.
And I know one of the suggestions has been to look at permanent power to the mailbox and the possibility of having Edison hardwired to there. Have we explored that? Is that a practical solution that might have some additional expense in the beginning, but with the, I think the solar thing is probably, I think we'd want solar backup anyway, but I just wonder if that was considered also.
It wasn't looked closely at, honestly. It just, I would say assumption that, bringing in, power other than solar would be much more costly.
It's not the matter of just asking Edison to drop a line.
It is not. It's more complex for sure.
Jennifer?
So I know we originally made this quote based on one vendor, so I want to make sure we get at least 2 quotes for the same work. Two others.
Oh, okay. We have there's limited vendors that we have available that would even be willing to come up to the mountain, but that certainly could be.
Well, I know of one vendor who was willing to make a bid on the project and was turned down to make a bid. So I'm just asking the question.
I don't know about that vendor being turned down, but it's certainly something that we could look, if we want to delay that and get further. I know, of course, as you requested personally, we did look at Starlink as an alternative.
Yeah, but we didn't get an estimate. We didn't get him to come out and give
Starlink?
us an estimate.
I'm referring to Starlink.
Yes, and I'm
no.
saying we didn't have him come out and make an estimate. So I would like at least 2 more estimates on other bids, and I agree with Brad's assertion that we should at least do our homework to see if running a new pole or whatever lines we need to do, that we get an estimate from Southern California Edison to do that work before we make a decision here.
Yeah, I agree with Jennifer. I don't know how many people know Bob Wyant. He's a wonderful member of the community, soft-spoken, incredibly intelligent. And this winter, when you see people stuck down and some guy that was basically freezing his you-know-what's off, that's going to be Bob right there. Bob did make a great proposal as far as hardwiring the power in, and I'm looking forward to, I've got a copy of this proposal here, which will, over the lifetime of the year, he believes will save about $75,000. That's quite a chunk of money, and he always seems to make good sense to me, so I'm looking forward to his presentation. Not presentation, his discussion, yes. Thank you.
Okay, any other directors? Go ahead.
I think we have done reasonable diligence on it because we do have limited vendors. And so if it seems like we want to go forward with it today, I will support that. If we want to just delay it another month to explore the Edison option and then find out what happened with this other vendor who thinks they were turned away from making a bid, that, could potentially be prudent. So if anybody of the officers might have any input on.
Okay. Did you have some?
Yeah,
No.
just really quick, I'm okay with that too, waiting one more month, but I am afraid, because I don't get my mail there. I get to come to the post office. I'm worried that we're gonna wait so long that then winter sets in and then they're not gonna be able to do anything. And the people that get their mail there, I mean, they get their mail stolen. So, I mean, it doesn't affect me. So I know my post office has security cameras and they keep an eye on it. So over in Tyrol, it'd be nice if they had the same opportunity. I'm okay with waiting, but I don't want to wait till so long that now we're coming into the holiday season. People are going to start getting cards and stuff, so.
Cam and then Philip?
Todd, did you attempt to get other bids without, with people who did not respond at all?
I mean, I
Oh,
haven't,
okay.
I haven't researched, as requested, I haven't fully researched 3 vendors, just again.
You haven't, okay,
No,
okay.
But I'm certainly willing to.
Yeah, because I know historically, we get a lot of vendors that we request bids from who ignore us. And so sometimes we can't get even 3 companies to make a bid. So, okay, thanks.
I'm just concerned, I mean, time is of the essence. For PG&E to come out here, or Edison to come out here, it could take them a year to install that line, minimum, with all the paperwork they require, and work that's is not a priority for them. And I think people live in Tyrol would definitely, or get the mailbox there, don't want to wait 6 months or a year. If there truly is someone who you said, why didn't you bring this to the attention before the meeting? If there was someone that you had in mind that got turned down, why didn't you bring it to the attention beforehand?
I did,
To when?
last month.
Who is this person? How come they haven't contacted us again?
Okay.
I mean, I don't understand this.
All right, Brad and then Jennifer.
I just want to say, the Edison thing, we should be able to figure out pretty quickly. It
Yeah,
seems like
and
we could
whether-
call them and find that out and see if it might be worth further exploring that, because that would be a long delay, I imagine. But I'm just talking about delaying it for the potential of exploring if we can find another vendor to bid on more of the hardware side of it. And so either, but I do share the concern, especially holiday mail.
Jennifer?
Just a minor suggestion, although obviously the people watching the videos and here in the room would know, but if we put up a sign that says camera surveillance, we just might deter some out of the area people. So at least let's put up the sign in anticipation of doing this, and it won't hurt anything.
It's really not a good practice to say that you're monitoring things and not do so, just a suggestion. And another thing under the bids, this proposal was put together as part of the overall package we already have. It's not a separate, independent system. This bid is in addition to our current system, and that's why this amount was here. And this is, my understanding is why it did not go out to bid originally. And so we're trying to make it compatible with our current surveillance systems and our other cameras, and not do a complete separate entity.
And I would add, Bill, that within the bid, specifically for the line of sight connection to the clubhouse here, the board was given 3 different options, and they asked for my recommendation of what the best option would be, and I discussed this with Fraser Mountain Internet, who is one of our existing vendors, and so we went back and forth, and I actually do personally have a bit of experience in that industry. Many years ago, I worked for a long-distance phone company and was very involved in a lot of technical stuff, so I don't necessarily keep up with all of it these days, but I do have some experience in that, and through my discussion and experience, I made a recommendation to the board on which of those 3 options given to us by Fraser Mountain would be probably the most beneficial to having those cameras continually monitored out there on the mailboxes.
Okay, any other directors? Yes.
I just have one more little comment. To me, at first, 15,000 sounded like a lot of money, but there are a lot of people here who say they want to be prudent about spending money and have created a petition, which is their right, which going to a ballot costs $15,000, and have now created another petition, which if it goes to a ballot will cost $15,000, so or more. So 15,000 really isn't that much.
Okay. And so we're going to go to the members, and if I just may, I'm just going to do a quick intro. No to you. Quick intro, because we were presented a proposal that I think Bob's going to probably talk about here, that we talked about the hardwiring, et cetera. I wish we'd have got this a little sooner, but you're up.
Thank you, Bill. Bob Wyant, 3405-197. Certainly appreciate all those concerns, and I might start with the proposal that I posted on Facebook and forwarded to our GM that's been distributed is lacking a few facts that I can update now. For one, Todd's very legitimate concern of a real-time monitoring and integrating into the existing systems, certainly very important. I'd like to do away with a little bit of the rhetoric, like all of a sudden we're in a hurry. Where have we been for the past 5 years, you know? Cut it out. Yeah, cut it out. So let's just move forward. The process of setting the poll while in LA City and dealing with LA Water and Power, which is about 5 times the bureaucracy of Kern County and much more complicated, much more feet dragging and everything. We can, just to allay Director Gabriel's fears, we can get a poll set, I would say within 15 days. We contact SCE through a process called Meter Spot. Their service representative will come out, say, yeah, put it here, put it there. It's ordered. It's all done by a private contractor. We don't have to wait for Southern California Edison to set a poll. It's all a private contractor. But I think the biggest fear, the most practical application that's been suggested was our general manager's suggestion that it be integrated into our existing system and also provide the real-time monitoring. If anybody wants an interim suggestion, mount a trail cam 20 feet in the air, you know, with a wireless card in it, and we got something covered for the few weeks or a couple of months that this will take. But that the poll that if we were to move forward with the hardwired system, the initial costs are very comparable. They're within a couple of $1,000 of each other of the system you're proposing. Where the hardwired system might pay off would be in the long term, say the 10-year application of the process, or even more. Hopefully it'll last 20 years. But to get that real-time monitoring in, they're using AT&T, I believe, has some fiber optics up here. Zito uses AT&T's line and everything. So along with that power line, 4 feet below it comes the communications lines, which would be phone, data, all of that. That also allows real-time monitoring at a very inexpensive monthly subscription fee. It's none of that. So that real-time monitoring is very practical, of course. And even though our patrol wouldn't make any arrests or whatever, they'd certainly be alerted and contact the sheriff's department and the like of that. So I would just suggest, I have sent a proposal. You guys can review that. Anybody that has any questions can call me. But to allay a couple of those fears, it would be a quick installation. The real time can be integrated. And certainly whatever gears purchased would be purchased on the basic that integrated with your existing system. And then again, the only benefit that I can see is the long-term cost. There's no real initial savings, maybe $2,000, but the long-term cost would be substantially less. So did any members have any directors have any questions?
I do. But did you see the original proposal with the hardware and all that
I
information?
have not seen the detailed proposal, only what was published as to the budget and the theory of the system.
Yeah, and I think that was in our original books when we first saw this, so I don't have it in front of me either. But the one thing that I can't recall was, and I believe the excess costs were really related to the solar part of this. And so I'm wondering, again, I don't have this in front of me, and if we do decide to hold off for a month, so be it. But I really would, if hardwired is the savings that we would see based on the solar, because I know when we put solar at the Greenway site, that was, I thought it was kind of expensive for the solar, but that was the industry standard in a way, because I thought, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. But that was my concern now, and I don't have the data to refer to, that if we hardwire it, we bypass the solar aspect of it, what type of savings are we gonna look at? So
That
I
might
don't
be a
know.
very practical hybrid solution.
Okay. All
Because
right.
the data cable also goes with the hardware.
All right, thank you.
Just based on my experience with Edison, is that it takes like 3 months just to get approved for solar. That just involves one person coming out and signing off on it, 3 months. So I
It's
can't
residential,
imagine,
sir.
I can't imagine they would be able to install a pole in 15 days, when they can't even get an inspector out here to approve solar, which is, it's signing a piece of paper.
Make a phone call.
You know?
Okay,
So-
thank you, Bob.
And,
Go ahead.
what happens if the power goes out up there and it's hardwired to the power?
Solar system, battery backup.
We'll have so we'll have a double system, that's more money.
Ron Freeman, 3405030. I may be coming to this discussion a little late, so if I'm asking a question that there is a previous answer to, I apologize. Because this is dealing with the U.S. Postal Service, are there federal funds available to help us offset the cost of this? Because they're not stealing from the people that are getting their mail there, they're stealing from the federal government. So that was my big question, is if we've looked into if there are other funds available.
And very good question. I don't know specifically that we have, but I do know this. The post office, they don't pay much attention to that. When those mailboxes a few years ago were in disrepair, we had to pay to have those replaced, not the post office. Just like when we had the canopy put up over those, that was us putting that up for the convenience of our members. So, good question. I don't know if you are able to look into that if we delay this,
I
but.
can certainly look at that, and I actually want to comment, Bob, back to Bob for just a second. I also want to say to you, Bob, that I hadn't even considered, you mentioned the AT&T fiber, and I hadn't considered that. It would probably require a splice. I don't know exactly where their splices are on the fiber that comes up here, but great suggestion and potentially worth looking at to see if we could splice that out. And we certainly have AT&T fiber coming in here to the clubhouse, so that could be an alternative to the line of sight wireless. Thank you.
Paul Mobley again. You got my number. I just want to make sure people are aware that when we had a security issue back when there was burglaries, there was vendors that came out that had camera capability both ends of Mil Potrero because the community felt unsafe. I would point out on October 28th, we had a comedy club event. One of the patrons was asked to leave and broke into a car, The patrol responded immediately, but the base camp did not have cameras. The sheriff's department was an hour away, and there was no way of determining if the perpetrator of this break-in of this car violently broke the windows on the car, was still on the mountain. So my point is, when we have alcohol served in the village and they don't have cameras for their patrons' safety, our community has people in danger, that individual could be up on the mountain somewhere. We heard about what happened in Lewiston, Maine. That was offensive. That was terrible. We don't want to have something happen here like what happened in Newberry Park in a shootout at a comedy club. My point is, if we're going to invest in cameras for the purpose of live coverage, detecting where that individual is, it's far more important to protect our community from a violent perpetrator than it is getting into a mailbox. The camera system should be looking at both in and out of our community. For $15,000, that's an extremely expensive camera system. I can buy a mirrorless camera, full end, for under $6,000, and it's a really hot camera. I've got 12 Weiss cameras on my property. Some are battery operated. I haven't gone solar yet. They can hold 3 days worth of video to share with the patrol, share with the board when violations happen, and to go get the perpetrators through the law. That's the purpose of the cameras. The problem with the post office camera is it doesn't take care of our issue with a violent criminal coming through Mill Patrol either way and giving the sheriff's department, who are an hour away on a Saturday night, a heads up where this individual may have gone to. Thank you.
Are you working your way up there? I'm watching you, but I don't know what you're doing. Okay.
Kind of rocking to get up there again.
Ian, sorry, 3507229. Wasn't really going to speak on this, but after hearing all the interaction here, I wanted to bring up a couple issues. With the camera system, I'm glad you mentioned that it's a package system, not just the one camera and everything for $15,000. I, like Mr. Mobley, also have Weiss cameras. I have about 11 of those, so not at the 12 yet. But with that company, so I'm sure there are other companies, it's free. You just stick an SD card in there. You don't have to have any monitoring. There's no annual service, nothing, and the cameras are under 40 bucks. But when we're talking about real property protection, not necessarily crimes against people like robberies and stuff like that, but property protection, I think what he was mentioning earlier, several years ago we had the little safety fair, and I know, Bill, you were trying to reach this company, the Flock cameras, which basically does license plate readers, but a great part of that type of camera system is that they do everything. They monitor it. If you tell them you're looking for a white van, they search it, they find a white van. They are very good. Their reputation, they do a lot of other associations and cities and HOAs and things like that. I think that would still be a great system here. The camera system we have now, I'm not sure how that works and who monitors it, but with my 10 cameras alone, I have a very, very difficult time, and I'm retired, looking at all the footage of the activations of what goes on there. Whoever will be monitoring these, if it's gonna be stored in the cloud, which is a great backup in addition to the memory cards, but whoever monitors this, it's really a full-time position, unless it's gonna be more reactive, which is something happens and then you go back and look at it, but then you gotta make sure you have enough recording time and things like that. So with that, it's just, I am as well probably late to this topic, but yeah, the cost of this individual install and camera and monitoring and powering, I can't really speak on now because it's now a package deal, so I have no idea what goes on with the other cameras here. But I'm definitely a fan of the cameras. I definitely think that it improves the quality of life, even though there is the privacy issue. It is something that I think comforts people, knowing that if something happens, you can log it in, or there's the Kern County Sheriff has a system where your cameras can be, you tell them you have a camera system, they know the area and things like that, so they can contact you if there's a car burglary or anything like that. So kind of a mixture of stuff here, but fortunately, all my questions were kind of answered earlier. But definitely a fan of the camera system. And if we're gonna do it right and do it with a reputable company and a reputable install.
Thank you. So let me just unofficially poll the board here. Are you inclined, if the maker of the motion will pull it, to put this on hold until next month?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, no, I said, so whoever made the motion, are you willing to withdraw it? Who was that? That would be Ellen. I know. Are you willing to withdraw your motion? And who made the second? I made the second. And then you pull it? Okay, so we're gonna pull that, and we will schedule it for next month. Thank you for all your input.
Where were we, Carolyn? I know exactly where we are. Yeah. I, Director Gilbert, move the adoption of the following resolution. Whereas this resolution to authorize the recording of a lien comes before the Board of Directors for the Pine Mountain Club POA Inc. Association at a duly noticed and called upon meeting of the Board, and whereas the property of the owners for the purpose of this resolution shall only be referred to as 3402 020, 3402-021, 3402-051, 3402-066, 3402-068, 3402-069, 3402-074, 3402-090, 3402-144, 3402-152, 3402-166, 3402-175, 3402-180, 3402-193, 3402-2227, 3402-323, 3402-343, 3402-345, 3402-354, 3402-363, 3402-370, 3402-393, 3402-415, 3402-428, 3402-450, 3402-482. Don't we go this one?
Do one more.
Yeah. 3402-515.
Let me help you out. I know it's very intriguing. Let me do some.
Okay. Am I doing them all?
Yeah, I'm gonna help her out here. And then I'm gonna point at somebody else maybe to pick up the slack.
Oh, I'm good.
3405-138, 3405-156, 3507-002, 3507-005. And again, for those of you who are like, what the heck are they doing? We're required to read these in an open meeting. 3507-009, 3507-046, 3507-047, 3507-072, 3507-152, 3507-212, 3507-297, 3507-316, 3507-356, 3507-357. Did I say that right? Let me just say it one more time, just in case somebody was taking notes. 3507-357. 3507-429, 3507-438, 3507-439.
3508-033, 3508-120, 3508-164, 3508-244, 3508-273, 3508-294, 3508-346. Are you having fun yet? 3508-365, 3508-372, 3508-375, 3508-387, 3508-408, 3508-412, 3508-452, 3508-453, 3508-583, 3508-611, 3508-705. You're on.
3566-042, 3566-054, 3566-063, 3566-071, 3566-078, 3566-079, 3566-095, 3566-096, 3566-18, 3566-168, 3566-212, 3566-347, 3566-372, 3566-442, 3566-450, 3566-480, 3566-501, 3566-525, 3566-556, 3566-598, 3566-614, 3566-630, 3566-633, 3566-634.
Me?
The very last one.
I want to correct one. 3502398 was said as 393, so that's a correction. Okay.
Phone.
3567006, 3567014, 3567021, 3567068, 3567091, 3567170.
Resolution. Association by a vote of the Board of Directors hereby resolves and designates Best Alliance Foreclosure and Lien Service Corp. as agent, parentheses agent, for association and hereby authorizes agent to prepare, sign, and record a notice of delinquent assessment lien and all other necessary and associated documents on association's behalf as agent against and upon the above referenced property owner to secure and collect all amounts owed to association in accordance with the CC&Rs of association and the Civil Code of California. Pursuant to this resolution, the Board of Directors hereby agrees and certifies that, 1, the Board has individually voted on this resolution and did not delegate voting to any agent of the association. 2, the vote occurred in a duly noticed and called open meeting of the Board. 3, a majority of the Board voted in favor of recording a lien for delinquent assessments of property described above and to be bound by the terms contained in the Best Alliance fee schedule and collection delinquent assessment referral letter. 4, the vote to record a lien against the properties listed above has been recorded in the minutes of the meeting.
Is there a second? Second by Ellen. Discussion?
Just a question. So this Alliance company, when do we reassess vendors? Do we reassess them like every couple years, 3 years, just to make sure we're getting the best deal to do this work? I'm just curious.
I believe we just went through that process recently, and it was delayed for a year.
Okay. Yeah, just since I'm new to the board and didn't have the history, I just was wondering when we
I
were
think their
last
contract
looking.
was, I can't remember now when it was. No, it's usually like, I believe it's a 3-year contract. but
3-year
Because
contract.
of the
Okay.
concerns we had, we did a year, and then they're gonna come back.
Awesome. Yeah, I just had that question. Thank
Okay.
you.
Any other questions about the liens?
Best Alliance has been very transparent with us, and they've also been very helpful in helping members get, to maintain their property. So I think they've tried to work with everyone that they can
No,
recently.
absolutely, and that, any other discussions? Members who were riveted by this information?
You have to specify which one you're talking about.
Directors, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
I, Director Gilbert, move the adoption of the following resolution. Whereas this resolution to authorize the recording of a lien comes before the Board of Directors for the Pine Mountain Club, POA, Inc., Association at a duly noticed and called upon meeting of the Board, and whereas the property and owners for the purpose of this resolution shall only be referred to as 316-413-06000. Resolution. Association by a vote of the Board of Directors hereby resolves and designates Best Alliance Foreclosure and Lien Services Corp. as agent for association and hereby authorizes agent to prepare, sign, and record a notice of delinquent assessment lien and all other necessary and associated documents on association's behalf as agent against and upon the above referenced property owner to secure and collect all amounts owed to association in accordance with the CCNRs of the association and the Civil Code of California. Pursuant to this resolution, the Board of Directors hereby agrees and certifies that 1, the board has individually voted on the resolution and did not delegate voting to any agent of the association. 2, the vote occurred in a duly noticed and called open meeting of the board. 3, a majority of the board voted in favor of recording a lien for delinquent assessments on the property described above to be bound by the terms contained in the Best Alliance fee schedule and collection delinquent assessment referral letter. 4, the vote to record a lien against the properties listed above has been recorded in the minutes of the meeting.
Second.
Second by Jennifer. Discussion? Discussion? Members? Directors, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. For the next 5 business policies are being pulled. There was no material changes, and we're re-looking at those policies, so we can go to the next one.
Information and correspondence? Oops. Hold on. Oh, sorry. Motion to approve the Communications Committee Charter. I never saw
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Brad. Discussion? Communications liaison, do you want to just, anything you want to touch on?
Well, sure, I'll just kind of incorporate this in my liaison report too. So, they're rock stars. Like, they've done a lot in a very short time. They've been working with the Radio Safety Network on doing some ads and promos for that they flipped out quickly. I don't know, I should probably read my report, but
Just on material, on changes to the charter?
yeah, so they cleaned it up a lot. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
So, but they're doing a great job. And I think the charter just opened up more of a role for them in working with the general manager and improving our communications, and they really are focused.
Yeah, and I agree, and I think the other thing too that I mentioned earlier in my report was that they, again, they're working with other committees to improve our communications, and they're taking it seriously, and they're doing a good job.
And I'll just throw in, because I have that up now. So they also did take a look at, they relooked at the communications-related questions on the 2021 survey to see if there was anything we missed, anything we should have implemented, didn't, any ideas from that. And then they also had suggested that that we do a dashboard for the clubhouse project that would have a visual timeline, project management, and budget performance links. I think we've kind of thrown that around before. Like I mentioned, working closely with the Radio Safety Network, and they meet by Zoom, so if you're interested, it's an easy meeting to join. Their Tuesday, December 5th at 6 p.m. is their next one.
Okay, any other comments? Members? Directors, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Information and correspondence. Environmental control recap for the month of October 2023. The patrol recap for the month of October 2023. The board sent and received 37 items of correspondence. Directors Forum. Committee Liaison Report. Director McKellen.
For Budget and Finance, I would just repeat that they're looking for qualified members. And also, they're also kind of talking about having another town hall. It's just barely in the works, so when that comes out, we'll let y'all know.
Director Hudson, Communications.
Which, as presented.
Okay. Director Gabriel, Emergency Preparedness.
I'm just gonna go back, I'm just gonna go on feedback. I'm excited that this committee is taking on a greater responsibility. In the past, it's kind of more acted like an arm for funding for CERT and then doing the monthly safety update in the Condor, and now they're taking a much greater, much more improved role in the safety of the community in terms of radios and getting people signed up and for the safety of the community. So I'm really excited. We have a new chairperson who's really an ace when it comes to the radios, and I'm really excited about the direction this is going. I think it's going to benefit the entire community. If you have some specifics that you want to add, because you were there.
No, I would agree that that committee has really taken off, made a major turn, and we're headed toward a lot of progress towards being better prepared for emergencies. There's a lot going on, including the Radios Net is having a gathering tomorrow afternoon right over here in the pavilion.
1 p.m.
At 1 p.m. to be able to learn how to participate in the radio safety net.
And just maybe just adding on to that as well, and we just approved a new member to that group today who is becoming the chair of that committee. So it was good we approved him today. And if he's out there listening, you know. But I think, just to echo what Philip just said, I think emergency preparedness is taking emergency preparedness to another level. And I think they're going beyond informational to actual physical assistance and helping out. And again, if an emergency occurs, they'll be ready to do it. And it is pretty exciting to see what they've got planned and the people who are involved. So good job. And I'm sure you're glad now to be relinquishing that chairman role as well.
Director Gilbert, Environmental Control. They approved three different designs for one owner, 3 different SFRs. We already talked about the gate, and other than that, was pretty much quiet. Oops. Director Hudson, Fire Safe Council.
Peggy reported that Kern Safe Fire Council is expecting to receive USDA Community Wildfire Defense Grant Award paperwork in January, and that's for the awarding paperwork to say they got it. That's for the home ignition zone grant in Mount Pinos. They just submitted a second USDA CWDG proposal for the Tehachapi area, and with some assistance from Caltrans, and this is for a planning document on egress and ingress on highways during emergencies. They're currently working on 2 grants that are both CAL FIRE. One is to update the Kern County Community Wildfire Protection Plan. The other is a fuel reduction for the Hart Flat area near Tehachapi. And their wildfire mitigation coordinator that they hired in May from a grant from California Fire Safe Council has really hit the ground running, and they're really pleased with her work, and were able to hire an outreach coordinator to assist. They'll be attending the Kernville Fall Festival and Desert Empire Fire, and attending the Festival Lights event in Fraser Park on December 2nd.
Director Ballard, Governing Documents.
I promise not to say anything today about the Environmental Control Code. Every so often, the Governing Docs Committee is required to review certain business policies that we have, and that is our current duty. We reviewed 6 business policies last time, and the rest of the year it looks like that we will be reviewing more business policies, and they simply are issues within how we work inside the office.
Director Lewis, Greens and Grounds.
As normal, they did a review of the projects and upkeep of the amenities and the park and everything else. One thing that was noted on there that was actually kind of significant was that we did not have to pay for water this year for the golf course because of the retention in Ferns Lake and there. So that was pretty prevalent. And I did not bring my notes for the number of rounds of golf, so I will send that to you, Grace. Sorry.
Director Bailey, Planning.
Thank you. The chairperson, Bennett, spoke of looking at the enlarged responses to questions asking the survey done in 2021. She also reports that the SurveyMonkey account hosting the previous survey was deleted somehow, so will need to be reworked from scratch. Conversation then became on questions regarding the clubhouse remodel that may be used in the survey. Questions were asked about the year-round pool issue. There was ideas about expanding the pool season for next year, the kitchen expansion, and also food choices. Questions 15 and 16, which is pretty much the wants and needs of the members, was discussed. And they're going to ask what people like, want, and what they want to use, and how long they have lived in PMC. There's a definite demographic shift that we'd like to see to understand this survey. There will be questions on STRs. Brad showed up there, thank you, Brad, was asked when this may come before the board. Brad thinks it will be during the December's board meeting. Lisa Chapman, Planning Secretary, suggested holding off the crafting of our STR questions until after this December meeting. Candice said she and Nicole will start inputting questions into SurveyMonkey, into the various drop-down questions. The Planning Committee as a whole have discussed from their notes on all these questions. It will be reviewed, hopefully at our meeting in December, to then be finalized and sent out in Q1 of 2024.
Director Acosta, MPMWC.
Their next meeting won't be until the second Saturday in January.
Okay, Members' Rebuttal Forum. Members' Rebuttal Forum is a 10-minute forum following the Director's Forum. Members may reply to any matter raised by a director during Director's Forum. Replies will be limited to 1 minute per speaker. Members wishing to be recognized should step to the microphone, address the board chair, and state name, track, and lot number. There may not be an immediate verbal answer from the board to questions or comments from the members. Members may not yield time to other speakers. Members will refrain from being argumentative and making derogatory or personal remarks or gestures.
I don't really want to encourage anyone, but if we're all good, we're going to yeah. Paul's just dying to get up there. All right.
Adjournment. In October 16, 2023 executive session, the following was discussed. Litigation, potential litigation 6, contracts 2, forbearance 4, foreclosure request 30, 316-080-26002, 316-080-25009, 316-0 okay. 0824006, 316-171-25002, 256-461-02002, 256-444-11003, 256-442-13005, 316-204-04003, 316-216-0500, 316-262-0100, 316-334-01009, 316-341-01001, 316-334-13004, 316-412-03004, 316-472-02009, 316-441-02003, 316-422-01001, 316-441-09004, 316-512-13002, 328-102-10001, 328-022-10008, 328-022-11001, 328-132-16008, 328-144-06006, 328-064-11007, 328-222-12002, 328-262-06007, 328-281-19004, 328-271-160-002, 328-271-24005. Hearings 12, Personnel 4. The next regular open board meeting will take place on December 16th, 2023 at 10 a.m. in the Condor Room. I motion.
Second.
We're adjourned.